After working on Rayman games for years, the creator of that IP, Michel Ancel, wanted to develop something new. He wanted to create a game that had a whole universe to explore with a memorable story. This would end up as Beyond Good and Evil, which would be released in 2003. Years later, in 2011, a full HD remaster was released, which enhanced the game's graphics, soundtrack and added achievements. And that is the version that I will be looking at in this review. For years I've wanted to play this game, given that it gets highly praised and has a dedicated following. And now in 2022, I can see for myself just how good Beyond Good and Evil really is.
They're coming. Quick then, jump up.
The game takes place on the planet Helios in the year 2435. In the game you play as Jade, who has been raised by her uncle Paige. When dumb creatures appear out of nowhere and abduct orphans, Jade decides to come to the rescue and free the children from these creatures. After this heroic action, Jade takes on a photographing job, taking pictures of the species on Helios for a science museum. While exploring more of Helios, Jade comes across a mysterious figure who tells her to investigate an abandoned mine that is home to a huge Doms monster. After defeating the monster, the mysterious figure reveals his true intentions and informs Jade that he is actually working for the Iris network, and that this was all just a test to see if Jade is capable of joining the network. Now that she is a part of the organization, Jade goes to investigate an Alpha Sections run ration factory, as the Iris network suspects them from being responsible for the planet-wide disappearances. She discovers that the Doms is trafficking humans, which is authorized by the Alpha Sections. Jade also finds Double H, who was kidnapped and tortured by the Doms. She frees him, but unfortunately Paige gets captured, taken to an abandoned slaughterhouse. Ready to free her uncle, she heads to the place, but is unable to extract him in time. After this, she learns that Paige was in fact the secret chief of the Iris network and that the Alpha Sections are being possessed and manipulated by the Doms. Jade and Double H take the Beluga and go to the Doms' lunar base to free Paige, but they find him dead after being tortured for weeks. While all seems lost, a mysterious power inside Jade is able to revive him. Now she's ready to take on the Kek himself and take part in a ship battle, which she ends up winning. After transmitting her final report and inspiring the people of Helios to revolt against the Alpha Sections, Jade confronts the Doms' High Priest, who reveals that Jade holds the power stolen from the Doms long ago, to hopefully starve the High Priest to death. But the priest was able to find a substitute power with all of the kidnapped individuals. The Doms priest captures Double H and Paige in an attempt to force Jade to surrender, but as determined as ever, Jade doesn't submit and destroys the High Priest, freeing all those who have been kidnapped. After the credits, a scene appears that teases a sequel, as a Doms spore grows on Paige's hand. The story of Beyond Good and Evil is nothing too special, as it is about fighting against a regime which has certainly been told before, but the characters are so charming that the cutscenes are very entertaining. I especially like the dynamic between Jade and Paige. In my opinion, the characters are the standout aspect of Beyond Good and Evil, and is what I remembered most fondly after beating the game, which is also helped by the appealing art style. What's also great is that you get to see the effect you have on the world, by exposing the secrets the Alpha Sections are hiding, causing people to protest, making it feel like your actions actually matter. The ambiguous ending makes me eager to see what the sequel has in store, which will hopefully get released somewhere in the future, though the lack of news isn't reassuring, and I'm kind of worried that the sequel will never see the light of day.
Be careful.
The game starts out great as you get to explore the world of Helios together with Paige, and while I expected that taking pictures would get old quickly, it actually never ceased to be fun, making it very addictive to photograph the local wildlife. Furthermore, you also get currency as a reward for each photo that you take, which can be used to buy items and upgrades. Health can be restored by eating food, and you can increase your maximum health by purchasing PA1s. To explore new locations, you've got your hovercraft, which can be upgraded to be docked with the spaceship, which allows you to reach previously inaccessible areas. To buy upgrades to reach more places and progress through the game, you've got to have a certain number of pearls, which are this game's collectible. Most are easily found, but towards the end of the game you also need to do some side content if you want enough pearls to get the ending. Luckily, these side activities are actually quite enjoyable, thus they never feel tedious to do. These activities include mini games in a Akuda bar, taking part in races, chasing looters and shooting them to get a pearl, and explore Alpha Section facilities or other remote areas such as a volcano. Usually when you arrive at a new location you will be fighting enemies, mainly using your combat staff and a disc to shoot enemies from a distance. This is nothing too special even during the boss fights, making for some basic combat that is just okay. But since these combat sections don't last too long, they never become repetitive. Occasionally you will need to solve puzzles, often needing the help of your partners, which is a great way to feel more connected with the other characters in the game. Though these can at times be a bit annoying, as your partners can sometimes be brain dead, making it take a while before they do what you want them to do to progress. So it's fair to say that the AI in this game is quite dated by today's standards. Unfortunately, stealth sections become overabundant towards the end of the game. These sections just drag on, becoming very repetitive and boring after a while. Mainly because the stealth sections are not that fleshed out, as you will be hiding most of the time, which means you will mostly be waiting for the right moment to move or strike an enemy. Thus, if you get spotted, it can be annoying to repeat this pattern all over again, as being spotted often means instant game over. So I was just glad when they were over, so I could move on and see what else the game had to offer.
Hang in there.
Thanks to the great art style, this game still holds up in terms of graphics. I know that I am playing the HD version, but I'm sure that the original game also holds up, making for some beautiful environments for a game from the 6th video game generation. Though unfortunately the camera can be a bit too close to Jade at times, obscuring your view and making it harder to move in the direction you want. Aside from that, there were a few annoying glitches that forced me to do parts over again. But luckily, after loading an older save file, these glitches never reappeared. The voice acting is solid and the soundtrack is fantastic, adding to the atmosphere of the game, making for a perfect package in terms of graphics and sound.
Okay.
At times, Beyond Good and Evil feels like a 7th gen game, with thrilling action set pieces in a similar fashion as Uncharted would later do, though the AI in this game is more simplistic, which is most apparent when you need your partner to do certain things. While I love this game's atmosphere and characters, the same cannot be said about the gameplay. I had a great time in the first few hours, but after that the game just dragged on, thanks to the repetitive stealth sections. At that point, I just wanted to get it over with, though the engaging cutscenes made it worthwhile. This makes it by no means bad, but it is a product of its time, so keep that in mind when you pick up this game. Still, I'm eager to play the sequel if it ever gets released.